Not all schedules are created equal. I'm going to go through and tell you the toughest and easiest schedules in the Big Ten. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's me again, Golden Blue Dude, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. I do videos every single day, sometimes college football and sometimes college basketball. The best way to support this channel, just hit the subscribe button. Scheduling is a big deal. Number one, it could determine how successful of a season you could have, and number two, it could decide how much respect you get from the playoff committee and AP voters. So I'm going conference by conference to determine who has the toughest schedule and who has the easiest schedule. First up, the Big Ten. The way I decided this was, number one, I went by out of conference and road games. So combined who had the easiest out of conference schedule with who had the easiest road games, that's who has the easiest schedule. The team in the Big Ten with the toughest schedule might surprise you. It's going to be Rutgers. Their non-conference consists of home game against Temple, at Syracuse, and at Delaware. That is cake. Their road games at Michigan and at Indiana. They're going to take a step back at Illinois and at Northwestern. Again, another team that will take a big step back, and at Penn State. I think Penn State rebounds, but as far as judging them side by side against the other member schedules, this is the easiest one. Next up, Wisconsin. Their out-of-conference games are Eastern Michigan, Army, that's a home game, then Notre Dame in Chicago. But I think Notre Dame is not going to be as good as they were this past year, and I think Wisconsin actually wins that game. Road games, kind of a joke, guys. At Minnesota, at Illinois, at Rutgers, at Nebraska. They have the easiest road slate of any of the Big Ten teams. Next up, Northwestern. They have a pretty easy schedule. Non-conference, home game against Indiana State, at Duke, and home against Ohio. Cake. The conference road slate, not that big of a deal. At Nebraska, at Wisconsin, that will be a tough one. At Michigan, and at Illinois. That's manageable. Next up is going to be Nebraska. Their out-of-conference consists of home against Buffalo, home against Southeastern Louisiana, and then at Oklahoma. That's probably the one game that kept them from falling to the easiest, because their Big Ten road slate, at Michigan State, at Purdue, at Minnesota. They do have to play Illinois in Ireland, which is weird. But the conference road slate for them, pretty easy. Next up, going to be Ohio State. They actually have a relatively easy schedule this year. Non-conference, Oregon, but they do get them at home. Tulsa and Akron, all home games. The Big Ten road slate for them, at Minnesota, at Nebraska, at Rutgers, at Indiana, and at Michigan. Very manageable. Next, Illinois, with the sixth easiest schedule. Non-conference, UTSA, which they're actually a pretty decent team, at Virginia, and then home against Charlotte. So, nothing terrible. And their road slate isn't that bad. They have at Purdue, at Penn State, at Minnesota, and then at Iowa. So that at Iowa is what kept them out of the bottom five as far as the easiest. Next up, Indiana, seventh easiest schedule. Out of conference, Idaho, Cincinnati, that's a tough one, but it's at home, and then at Western Kentucky. Their Big Ten road slate, at Iowa to start the season, that will be tough. At Maryland, at Michigan, and at Penn State, and at Purdue. So, a little bit tougher, but still manageable. With the eighth easiest schedule, Iowa, non-conference, at Iowa State. That's what bumped up their difficulty level. And Kent State and Colorado State at home. Their Big Ten road slate, at Northwestern, not going to be as good. At Maryland, at Nebraska, and at Wisconsin. That also bumped it up. That's why I have them as the eighth easiest schedule out of 14 teams. The ninth easiest schedule belongs to Michigan. Their non-conference slate, Eastern Michigan, Northern Illinois, and Washington. That's a tough one. Road slate, at Wisconsin, at Indiana, at Nebraska, at Penn State, at Maryland. So that is a little tougher than what we've seen, and that's why I have Michigan as the ninth easiest. Now we're getting into the upper half, meaning the more difficult schedules, coming in at 10. In other words, the fifth hardest schedule. Maryland, And this is with one of their non-conference not being known. So all I have for their non-conference for right now is West Virginia, tough, and Kent State. But they also have one more they have to schedule. But their road slate in the Big Ten: at Illinois, at Rutgers, at Minnesota, at Ohio State, and then at Michigan State. So the fact that they have a lot of road games, West Virginia in their non-conference, and one of their road games at Ohio State, puts them in the upper half as far as the toughest schedules. Now with the fourth toughest schedule, Minnesota. Now they're out of conference, not that bad. Miami of Ohio, at Colorado, that could be tricky, and then Bowling Green State. Their road schedule in the Big Ten: at Purdue, at Northwestern, at Iowa, and at Indiana. So nothing super, super bad, but enough above average teams to make it tough. Third toughest schedule in the Big Ten belongs to Penn State. Their non-conference: Ball State, Auburn, Villanova. Their road slate, tough as well. At Wisconsin, at Iowa, at Michigan State, at Maryland, and at Ohio State. So they have to go on the road to play Wisconsin, Iowa, and Ohio State. That's tough. And playing Auburn. The second toughest schedule in the Big Ten belongs to Purdue. Their non-conference: Oregon State, that's not bad. At UConn, not bad. At Notre Dame, that's going to be tough. Road games in the Big Ten: at Ohio State, yikes. At Iowa, yikes. At Wisconsin, oh man. At Northwestern. They have a really, really tough road slate. But still not the toughest schedule in the Big Ten, in my opinion. That honor belongs to Michigan State. Non-conference: Western Kentucky, Youngstown State, and at Miami of Florida. That's going to be a tough one. Road games in the Big Ten: at Northwestern, at Michigan, at Ohio State, at Purdue, at Rutgers. Purdue is going to be a good team, so that's going to be a tough road game. It's pretty close between Michigan State and Purdue. I think that road trip to Miami was the tipping point. So there you go. The toughest and easiest schedules in the Big Ten, in Gold and Blue Dude's opinion. Let me know what you think. I'm sure you don't entirely agree with my analysis of the schedule, so let me know how you would have it. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.